All right, everyone. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about revision strategies for your portfolio and what is expected when you are doing your revision. Okay. In this essay here, I screenshotted a couple of ideas in terms of what makes good writing. Okay. Good writing is always characterized by clarity, coherence, organization, accuracy and correctness, sufficiency and style. Good writing is clear writing. Readers can follow and understand it easily. Okay. So it's this idea that the hardest part of writing is trying to get all of your thoughts on a page, and we revise when we don't have a fully formed argument yet, or we're not being clear in what we want to say. You want to be more complex, but you didn't get there. That is what we're going to be thinking about when it comes to revision. Okay, the number one most important type of revision is conceptual. Okay, this is what I always am looking for in my comments on your paper is strengthening your thesis and analysis through reflecting on the complexity of the text and therefore strengthening the complexity of your argument. It's the number one thing that I look for. Those are usually the type of comments that you see is I'm thinking about the conceptual part of your essay. And 1.5 in order of importance is your organization. You cannot be clear and you cannot have a strong conceptual argument without being organized. Thinking about whether your essay's arrangement best presents your line of thinking. Does the organization make sense to your reader? Do you have enough quotes? Did you provide all the proof that you need in order to prove your point? Hey, do you have that evidence? And looking for those type of things. Are there places where you could just switch paragraphs or switch points? So things like that are important as well when trying to reconstruct the conceptual part of your paper. Lastly, important is stylistic, but I don't want you to worry about that right now because things like grammar and word choice and diction, it's not what I'm looking for when it comes to a revision. Of course, if you see something, you should change it. And if I've circled things like tense, you should change your tense to present tense, but I'm really looking for 1 and 1.5. Okay. So revision versus editing. Revision is making substantial changes that improve your work in content or focus or style, rewriting parts of the text, taking out parts of the text that don't work or are repetitive, and restructuring the text so it flows better or is more focused. Editing is grammar, capitalization, spelling, punctuation, common grammar mistakes, fixing your MLA. It's important to edit, but only after you do the revision. Okay, we revise because no writing is perfect in the first draft or even the second draft or the third draft. We write to improve. The more that we revise, the better writers we become. So let me show you an example revision of a thesis. I'm going to make this a little bigger here. This was from a class who was reading the book Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Okay, and you can see that the thing that I want this person to work on is conceptual. Okay, they have a thesis about Martha as a character deconstructing her identity. She has become dissatisfied with the life that she has built, but she hasn't come in talking about the character at the end. Is there hope for Martha in the end to construct an identity, or is all lost? Okay, she didn't get there, right? So I know that that's what she needs to work on. Okay, so right, if we look at the original and we start to think, what's a not so good revision? A not so good revision is when you take my comment and you just add one little part of my comment to the end of your sentence. Okay, that's not really thinking about your thesis as a whole. Okay, so Throughout the play, this is the original. Throughout the play, Martha deconstructs her identity. At each step, she loses a piece of herself and becomes dissatisfied with the life she has built. First point, second point, they sound good. Albie uses Martha's character to explain how it's impossible to hide the truth about one's identity. Okay, that doesn't say anything about Martha. Not so good revision throughout the play, blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the third point. Albie uses Martha's character to explain how it is impossible to hide the truth about one's identity since there's no hope for Martha in the end. So it's tacked on. There's no rewriting, right, of this part. And then we just tacked on one little phrase, okay? You need to think about it in terms of maybe changing some ideas up, okay? This is better. I'll keep this here. Look at this. The person went up and added something in the beginning to set up final argument. So they're reconstructing the argument conceptually to get to a stronger end comment. Martha deconstructs her identity. While initially she appears confident, she soon loses pieces of herself as she expresses dissatisfaction with the life she has built. It is only when Martha is forced to face reality does she begin to construct a new identity based on authenticity and acceptance of self. This whole part is different, right, from this. Okay, and it's no longer tacked on. It is a new argument that is conceptually complex. Okay, more complex, it's stronger. Okay, another thing, right, that I notice here is sometimes you're going to have to deal with some organizational issues that I pointed out in your paper. The problem here, right, is that we start in the beginning, okay, then we have a quote from page 220 towards the end of the story, right? We need to start at the beginning, okay? So now that this student has a revised thesis, she might be able to find a better quote in the beginning, okay? So that's an organizational issue she's going to have to fix based on the thesis revision. Okay, so that's just a couple of things that I want to show you when it comes to reading my comments, really thinking about the conceptual ideas that I'm asking you to consider and thinking about how you are going to be putting those new ideas in your essay in order to add complexity.